What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Braves Blueprint, where we're building the future of tomorrow for the Braves. I'm Ben, and with me I got Ryan, as always, and we're been going over the week. This week it was August 9th through the 16th, and we're getting towards the end of the season, and we're getting some pretty good guests on the show, including today we got Noah Adcock Howarth. He is the play-by-play announcer for the Augusta Greenjackets. Noah, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes, sir. You said it. My name is Noah Adcock Howarth. I'm the voice of the Augusta Greenjackets. It's my third year with the team, and I'm super excited to be here with y'all. I love what we're getting going, and I love how much, this organization, all the fans care about everything from Augusta all the way up to Atlanta. So it's been awesome to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I know, Ryan, you want to tell them about how you got treated like royalty at the Augusta Stadium earlier this year?
So I got invited out to Augusta and Gwinnett back in July. Got to meet Noah, and I can tell you, out of every stadium I've been to, Augusta is by far top of the line. Noah, everybody that puts on the show there, it's a surreal experience, and if you ever get a chance, you need to make your way down there.
Yeah. At some point, I'm going to have to make my way down there because I'm quite jealous of Ryan. He made it all the way from where he lives, and it makes my commute to Augusta look like a child could do it. So I have no excuses. But let's go ahead and get into it, man. We're starting on Tuesday with Augusta. We had Parker Brocious going 2 for 5 with a stolen base. That was kind of it on Tuesday for Augusta. It wasn't really the best of games, but Parker Brocious has been really good since he started stepping on the field for him. Moving on up to Rome for Tuesday, we got Cody Miller. He went 2 for 3 with a double, 2 RBIs, 2 walks, 3 runs. Alex Lodi's went 2 for 4 with 2 runs and a walk. We had Ethan Bagwell, who left the game with a lower back injury. Either one of y'all, Ryan, do you have anything that you've noticed on Ethan Bagwell's injury
He just looks
this week?
stiff. Like, you couldn't tell anything was hurting, but he just didn't look like himself. And after he threw a pitch in the second inning, they said that was it. It was more like he couldn't find his location. Like, he couldn't get loose. And I think the trainer saw onto that and just went ahead and pulled him out of the game.
Yeah, seeing what we've seen from Ethan Bagwell this year, just all around, he just didn't look like himself, and you could really tell. I think he ended up pointing to his lower back at some point whenever he was coming off the field, but I think he should be all right. It should just be some lower back tightness. They haven't announced him going on an injured list or anything like that, so I'm hoping for the best.
He's a kid with a football background. He last year when he had the oblique thing that cost him a couple months, he felt it in the first and he still threw 5 strong innings. So I think for him, on one hand, it does say a lot that he came out of the ball game, but I also think that unless it's something major, he's a kid that's going to absolutely be looking to jump right back into things next week. He's a guy that cares deeply about being able to post week in and week out. And I think that until it's proven that there is cause for concern, you trust him to bounce back pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if y'all just heard it, but it sounds like the bottom just fell out at my house. So if y'all can hear it, I'm so sorry. But yes, Ethan Bagwell, he's a guy you've seen up close and personal this year too, Noah. He came through Augusta for a while, and him and Davis Polo, a guy we'll get to, whenever we get to Thursday, both of those guys have just skyrocketed up mine and Ryan's boards this year as far as prospects in the system.
As they should. And those are guys that, especially Bags, because, we'll talk about Polo when we get there. But I think with Bags, like, he was easily our best arm in the first half. And he's a guy that just needed to be able to show that he was healthy. But the velo's a little bit better this year. He was able to use his stuff a lot more to both sides of the plate, trusted the sweeper. Guy that he's still only 20. He was a high school pick, early to mid rounds out of an Illinois high school. He was supposed to go to the SEC. He was a Missouri recruit. There's a lot to like there. And for a kid that's 6'4", 230 to have the pitchability that he has at the age of a college sophomore, I think that there's probably more velocity in the tank, but he knows what to do even when he doesn't have that velo. And for him, an off night velocity is still 91 to 93. So I think that that's definitely a guy that outside of the top five and the guys that are already stretching up to Columbus Gwinnett needs to be on folks' radars.
Yeah. I know me and Ryan agree wholeheartedly with you on that. Going up next, we got Braden Scott, who's kind of a newcomer to the Braves organization. He went 5 innings with no hits, 4 walks, and 4 Ks. He looked pretty solid. Now we got to go over a little bit of a rough spot here. We got Eric Hartman, John Hill, and Owen Carey for Columbus. They ended up going 1 for 11 combined with 2 walks, 2 runs, 5 Ks. Patrick Cloissy, if we're moving up to Gwinnett, he went 3 for 4 with 2 runs, a walk, and a stolen base. That guy right there, I know we talked about it on last week's show, but I do kind of want to see, Noah, if you know much about Cloissy, but that kid's really impressed. As I'm going through my notes here, literally almost every single day he's showing up and doing something in the box, whether it's getting a multi-hit game, stealing a bag, getting a ribby, something. What do you have on Cloissy?
Yeah, he's a guy that I think a lot of folks are fired up about. And we saw him for a very brief period of time in 24 after the draft because he was a senior sign, 11th rounder out of St. Louis. And they pushed him up because he looked good here in the limited time. So they were able to challenge him with Rome pretty quickly on. But everything you talk to, guys that have worked with him consistently, nothing but good things to say about him. He's a gamer. He's a guy that continues to get better year after year. Got a whole bunch of baseball under his belt already with a handful of seasons of college ball. Made an impact there. But as things start to stretch out, all of a sudden he's got some power now. All of a sudden he's being able to show in game more than just that raw speed. Because last year he put a lot of folks on notice just based off the volume of stolen bases he was putting up. And the Braves organization, at least on the minor league side, have always been very aggressive with guys on the bases. If you have speed, you're going to force yourself to learn how to use it. And occasionally, if that leads to a caught stealing or two or a pickoff, you're going to live with that because you know these guys are learning. But for him, he had the success rate, he had the volume, and now he's showing that he's more than just what the Braves saw at the major league level with Jorge Mateo being more of a stolen base only threat. Cloisy's got great range in the outfield, but he's got bat-to-ball skills. Whether he ends up a fourth outfielder or something, I think within the next 12 months, he's a guy that is probably finding his way to Truist. And similar to Jim Jarvis, I think he's one that a lot of folks are going to really enjoy rooting for. It's very easy with his style of play to make him a fan favorite.
Oh, yeah. And I agree. What day was it that he made just the Superman catch out in center field? I can't remember what day that was this week, but it had to have been on SportsCenter. I haven't watched ESPN or SportsCenter in quite a while, but I know his diving catch in center field had to be out there. But moving on, we got Cal Conley, who went 2 for 4 with a run, a RBI, and a stolen base. Guy, I'm very excited to see AJ Smith-Shaw find his way back to Truist. On Tuesday, he went 5 1/3, gave up 1 hit, no walks. Very encouraging with 7 strikeouts. And then Tyler Uberstein, he went 1 inning with no hits, no walks, and a strikeout. He's one of the guys that we traded for at the trade deadline. I believe he's the return for Eli White, so from Boston. So that's a good, solid showing for him. Moving on to Wednesday, first of many days where we got Carter Beck showing up back in the box score. He went 2 for 5 on Wednesday. Parker Brocious went 1 for 4. He struck out twice, but he did have his 5th stolen base already. Caleb Klein went 2 for 4 with an RBI. He's the 15th round pick of the Braves in this year's draft. And then another guy that we have talked about 2 weeks in a row here, Daniel Brooks. He went 4 1/3 with no hits, no walks, 4 strikeouts, a 0.79 ERA in 22 2/3 innings pitched in Augusta, along with 22 or 24 straight batters retired. That is incredible to not let anybody get on base in that amount of time. That's almost a complete perfect game. Ryan, what do you have that we didn't say last time on Daniel Brooks? And then Noah, I'll ask you the same question.
He just locates so precisely and he's efficient with it. You can't really tell what's coming because he plays off himself so well. I think he's doing a really good job of tunneling. And so it's really hard to pick up on. And so he generates a lot of whiff. He generates a lot of soft contact, and you're seeing it in every box score.
Noah?
Yeah, absolutely. It's 24 in a row is impressive. Back-to-back perfect outings because he went 9 up, 9 down for the save at Hickory, 13 up, 13 down here, and of course, in the last 2 outs of his previous ball game against Columbia. But I think the thing that impresses for me is it's an undrafted free agent. This is a guy that is having success in his first pro season when he wasn't really somebody that lit up everybody's draft boards. He was a very, very solid starter at College of Charleston, but he was a starter, and he's been used exclusively as a bullpen arm, and I think part of that is the side. You see 6'7", 240. He gets downhill so well. It really feels like he's releasing from the top of a skyscraper, which is part of why he's getting elite swing and miss. He's getting everything but ground balls, it feels like. He's You're getting chases because it's a fastball that's run up to 95. There's absolutely more velo in the tank. He spins the heck out of the ball, and then he just breaks the two-plane slider off of it, just falls off the table. And Ryan talked about the tunneling, and that's exactly a big piece of it, is he's being able to, everything looks the same, and then they just split off two different directions. But going 4 1/3 and doing so on 50 pitches, I'm intrigued to see both in the last couple of weeks of the season and then going into next year whether or not he gets a look in the rotation. Because I think that the fact that he's very overtly being stretched out, he went 3 innings last week against Hickory behind Polo, and the plan had been to basically run him for as much as we needed to end the ball game behind Davis. It was let him go, see if he can get up to 50 pitches and see what he's got. And then the same thing happened. And even though it was kind of mop-up duty because it was an early deficit, he was still brilliant. And going 4 1/3 with that level of efficiency and that little resistance, whether he stays in the pen long term or not, there's a lot there to build upon. And it's a very interesting profile, especially in an organization that's already done well with some giant human beings like Sennard and Bauman.
Yeah, and I've been very impressed by what I've seen from Daniel Brooks. I've tuned into both of his outings, like you said, against Hickory last week and then this week. He's very much impressed. He's another guy who just looks like he just knows how to pitch. He's not going to sit there and pump 99, 100 by you, but his size also helps with that, with the extension and everything that he gets from being just naturally 6'7". He's going to release the ball just naturally closer to the plate. That 94, 95, touching it is going to look more like 97, 98, and it's going to get on guys a lot quicker than it normally would. And so I'm very excited to see. I kind of hope that Daniel Brooks gets a look in the rotation starting next year because it looks like they're kind of stretching him out a little bit, letting him go 3 innings, letting him go, 4 1/3 this week. So, who knows what's going to happen, but I'm kind of excited about that. Next up, we're going up to Rome where we got Luke Sennard who went 4 innings with 2 hits, no runs, no walks, 4 strikeouts. Dixon Williams, who, let me go ahead and play spoiler here. We're going to be seeing his name quite a lot as this week goes on. Dixon, he had a double, a triple, and a walk on Wednesday. Luis Guanipa went 2 for 5 with 2 doubles and an RBI. Another guy who we're probably going to be seeing later on down this list. Cody Miller, unfortunate news. He left the game after getting hit in the head by a pitch. That is terrible news because I feel like Cody Miller was just now coming around to really finding his stride in Rome. He was playing very well, and another guy that, Noah, you saw a lot of Cody Miller. I know the box score and his stats on Baseball Reference and MLB.com show one side of his story. What have you seen when he was at Augusta this year that gives you some kind of hope for Cody Miller to really turn it back on whenever he returns?
Yeah, there's a lot of reason for optimism, even despite the struggles. I think he's a guy that speed never slumps, and he's certainly got that in spades. He also can play good defense, whether it's on the dirt or if he does end up what folks are speculating at draft time, being able to play some on the grass. He certainly can do that as well. But definitely some bad batted ball luck. I think he was trying so hard to succeed that he was tinkering with the little things, pressing a little bit. He was also the victim of a lot. It just felt like any 50-50 call when he was either in the box or trying to beat out a ground ball just didn't seem to go his way. It's just there was a lot of universal forces that seemed to be working against him. And I think that regardless of whether or not he's able to put forth another effort in the last 3 weeks of the season for Rome, he's a guy that if there's one individual that's in top 30 lists that should be able to produce at a notably higher level than they have this year for non-health reasons, I definitely think he's at the top of the list. There's too much ability, whether it's with the bat or with the glove or with the speed, for him to be going long-term as a legitimate concern.
Yeah, and Ryan, what do you have on Cody Miller?
The exact same thing. He's a gamer. He comes to play every day, and Noah and I have talked more than once about whenever there's a bad call in Augusta, it's usually him. And for all year, it seemed if there was a 50-50 judgment call, it never goes his way. And so you can see the metrics that his strikeout percentage is the same. His walk percentage is the same. The only thing that's different in his numbers is the batted ball in play. And I've seen so many signs of he will break out of it. He's too passionate, too driven not to. And I don't have any concerns on him showing why he's a top 30 prospect going forward.
Yeah, I agree. I think the hit tool, I believe in his hit tool. He's just, he reminds me a lot of Cloacy in the fact that they're just ball players. They may not have the exact same skill set, but he, if you've been around the game long enough, and I don't really know how else to describe it, but if you've been around the game long enough and you watch enough baseball and you played enough baseball in your life, you kind of know those guys who just like are just grinders, and you know those guys who are just ball players. And Cody Miller and Patrick Cloacy both are just two of those guys that have really stuck out to me this year. Cody Miller, especially, just bad luck, like y'all said. He's been really struggling to get any kind of consistency going. And whenever it seems like he finally has something like Wednesday night happens and he gets hit in the head and has to leave the game. And it just, oh God, it crushes me. But anyway, I'm hoping that Cody Miller can come back, and get better and get back on the field here soon. But moving on, I know this guy isn't really a prospect, quote unquote, but Jordan Groshans had a hell of a week. He went 2 for 4 with a double and a run scored on Wednesday. Then we have Eric Hartman. He went 1 for 4. He also had 2 runs scored, a walk, and already his 7th stolen base with Columbus. And Cam Caminiti went 3 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 3 walks, 3 Ks. It wasn't his best outing, but Ryan, what did you see from Cam that kind of stuck out to you in his short outing on Wednesday?
It was very similar to his first outing where he gave up a run, but he bounced back and got out of it. Both the first and the third inning, he had runners in scoring position and used his strikeout to get out of it. All 3 strikeouts he threw were to get out of jams. So he's doing a good job of learning how to get himself out of trouble. He's just got to get a little better at getting into the trouble. And he'll find that as he matures, as he ages and gets used to playing on this next level. And I think the only reason he really got pulled early was because he had to throw so many pitches in the third inning to get out of it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense too. I'm hoping that he can kind of go a little bit longer in his next outing, but it is encouraging to see him, even if he does get in trouble, be able to get his way out of that trouble. I know I made the joke last week that his first pitch in Double-A got hit to Noonan, but he bounced back really well in that outing. So it's kind of good to see, and hopefully he can carry some of those positives into his next start. Next up, we got Eric Hernandez, who went 6 1/3 with 2 hits, 2 runs, 4 walks, 11 strikeouts. It's probably his best outing this year. Noah, what do you have on Eric? Because I know he was down in Augusta a couple years ago, wasn't he, or last year?
So we saw him for 1 start after the draft. He made his debut, went just dominated. It was like 3 innings, 7 strikeouts, something like that. And you knew it was going to be a quick trigger. You didn't realize it would be one and done. But we also saw him this year when he was rehabbing because he was coming back from little something that he was dealing with in Columbus. And so he jumped in with us I think we were in Kannapolis, and he continues to look good. He's one of those, I know a lot of folks have done some speculating on him because the question for him long-term is always going to be, does he throw enough strikes to be a starter, or can he be a reliever? And I think that there is absolutely every reason to give him as many opportunities as possible to start because he can turn in performances like he did here. And he is still so raw. We talk about late bloomers a lot in a variety of different circumstances. And I know that now we're getting into football season. There's always those guys that get drafted that didn't start playing football until they senior year of college or high school or something like that. So there's still a lot to learn. Herrick came out of high school. He was an outfielder. And then he was at D2 Barry in Miami for a semester, throwing in the mid-80s, wanted to pitch, ended up at Miami-Dade Community College, turned into something special there, then went to Miami and refined it a little bit. There's a lot of measuring that you can do with him. There is still some fine-tuning that have continued to happen over the last couple years, and he was very much a raw piece of clay that was coming into this organization. So I think that it's not, in my opinion, a worry that if he does end up in the bullpen, oh no. I think that this organization has done so well with finding starting pitchers especially turning guys that weren't necessarily expected to be that into legitimate prospects. You think about what Schwellenbach and Smith-Shawver were when they first were drafted compared to how quickly they become legitimate weapons. I think Herrick's got every ability to be something like that. He's got great swing and miss from the slot he's got with the fastball and the breaking ball alike. But if he becomes a seventh inning guy, an eighth inning guy, a legit lefty weapon in the pen, where his fastball velocity is going to play up and he's all of a sudden going to be sitting on the plus side of 95 with every single fastball, it's still a role that's going to get him into Atlanta within the next year or two, and it's going to give him a legitimate purpose to help out the Braves winning.
Yeah, and he has some of the best swing and miss stuff in the system, in my opinion. He's nasty from the left-handed side. I didn't really know his backstory, admittedly, but guys, sounds like he's just Miami through and through. Going to 3 separate stops at college in Miami. That's crazy. But moving on, we got Patrick Cloesy again showing up, 1 for 3, a run, or RBI, a walk, a stolen base. Moving on to Thursday, I'm so excited to hear you talk about Davis Polo. 6 2/3 with 4 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. This guy has just thoroughly impressed me and Ryan this year as a whole. His entire just makeup. I know I talked to you a little bit about him. He reminds me of a young Julio Teheran. He knows how to use his stuff very, very well. He's got a good fastball. The changeup looks incredible. All right, it's falling off a table. He's got the slider that can get some swing and miss. Tell me about Davis Polo and tell the people who are listening about Davis Polo.
Yeah, y'all both know that I'm just a ridiculously big and very avid Davis Polo fan. I love all our guys out here, but Polo's definitely got a special place in my heart. He missed all of last year with an arm injury that it ended his 24 season right at the middle of August, and then he was out all of last year. And even in 24, he was 19, he was rail thin. He took his lumps, right, was right around 5. It wasn't miserable, but he was 1-9 because that team it was a very young offense that struggled a lot. And that ball club, to a man, but especially it felt like when Paul was on the hill, it was a lot of 4-1, 3-2 nothing losses. But for what he's done this year, there are very few other candidates that have shown the dramatic improvement across the entire organization that he had. And this kid, I fully believe that he is 10 pounds of muscle away from being a big leaguer in the next 2 years. The fastball, which last time we saw him was 90 to 91 and pretty flat in 24 because he was a 19-year-old, is now touching 95, 96, sitting 92, 93, and it's got a ton of sink to it. The slider, it's not going to blow anybody that's super metrically inclined away. It's not ridiculous spin. It doesn't jump off the page in any of its numbers, but what it does is get outs. And it works very well off this fastball. They move opposite directions. He plays it well. He knows how to get chases, and he knows how to keep it out of the heart of the zone. You talked about the changeup. The changeup is his best pitch, and it's probably the best individual pitch on our roster right now. It's ridiculous. He and Elvin Nina, who's been the Green Jackets pitching coach for a while now, they worked on something in spring training, and they changed his grip around. He throws it more like a Vulcan change. He's holding it between his middle and ring fingers, and it's something that is just completely changed the way he's able to attack left-handers. They'll know it's coming. It doesn't matter. He's just consistently getting outs. And now that he's really getting comfortable with who he is and he's further away from the injury, he's pitching with a confidence and a longevity we didn't have. He started the year, he was the piggyback arm behind Kendi Richard. He was not in the rotation those first couple weeks, and then he flip-flopped with Kendi, and he was still getting capped at 3 or 4 innings. He has just slowly forced himself into being the most successful pitcher on the Green Jackets roster. 27 innings over his last 4 starts. They've all been quality starts. They've all been wins. He's given up 2 earned runs. That's the defense and the unearned runs have forced him out of ball games that he probably could have gone 7 or 8. But the 2 runs earned that he's given up have both been solo homers to the pull side in left center field at our ballpark, which is about 350. It's where you can reach out and just flick one and go that direction. Those are the only 2 balls that he's given up that have been an earned run. He has just been so impressive with his demeanor, with his work ethic, with the way that he has just bounced back and methodically worked through this season. I said it on socials and stuff a couple days ago that he's not Didier Fuentes. Other than the fact that they're Colombian-born righties that threw for the Green Jackets and had success, they are different pitchers. And Didi's K per nine in a shorter sample was dramatically higher. But if there's anybody that could have that kind of rampant run through the minors like Fuentes had last year, it would be Colombia's own Davis Polo in 2027. I really do think that he's got that ability to move quick. And I think that if you continue to help him get stronger and continue to help him refine the way that he goes about his business, he starts in Rome, probably. He may be on the short list to get to Colombia rather quickly. And then all of a sudden, boom, you're knocking on the door. I'm incredibly excited to see what comes from him next year.
Yeah. Ryan, you got anything to add about Davis Polo?
Confidence. He's believing in himself more and more, and you see it every outing he has. Going back to May, he had a 1.4 whip. In June, 1.2. In July, 1.02. And now this month it's at 0.8. Every month he's consistently getting better, and you see it every time he takes the mound. He's finding more consistency in his location, in his tunneling, in his playing off with his slider, his change, knowing when to use it, and it's becoming a lethal weapon in our system.
Yeah, his changeup has just been amazing, in my opinion. And that's kind of why I've comped him to Julio, because Julio really did have a phenomenal changeup at his peak. His fastball, when he was younger, his fastball could touch the upper 90s, 96, 97, but his changeup is always probably going to be his best pitch. And I don't know who Davis learned this changeup from, but my gosh, it is incredible. Moving on, we got Carter Beck, who went 1 for 3 with 2 walks and 3 stolen bases. Dude's been an on-base machine since he got drafted. He was hitting over 400 last I saw, and since he got drafted. And then we got Caleb Klein, who went 3 for 4 with 2 RBIs, a run, and a stolen base for himself. Y'all got a fun little offense down there in Augusta, Noah. You got any unsung heroes or anything that we haven't talked about so far?
It's so fun to watch. You're right. I think first off, it's changed so dramatically over the span of like 3 weeks, because we went from going Guanipa, Essenberg, Lodis, Miller, the top 4 day in and day out, and then sprinkling guys like Mateo and Smith and those guys behind him. Now, all of a sudden, all those guys are in Rome, and you're filling it with some of the recent draftees. There are a bunch of those college hitters that have come in that have had experience. And while Beck has absolutely been the most hyped up and the most productive, that's what you would hope you see from a first rounder. I'm very afraid of the day we no longer get to see him, but I also think that he's another one that the Penguins could come and steal from us. I'm getting a little bit hurt by how often Rome is snatching up all our favorite guys, but I definitely think that Caleb Klein's really impressed. He's just got a great approach at the plate. He's a guy that has made the change from the Ohio Valley Conference to the Carolina League a lot quicker than most might expect. Certainly not easy to do. And Parker Brocious, that's a guy that everybody's been keyed in on because he's a local kid, because of where he was at Georgia Tech, because of the whole signing process and everything that Jesus Cano and all those folks have written and made much ado about with where he signed and how much he signed for. The kid's just going to bat and putting good swings on the ball, good at bats up. He's got decent speed. He's got good work in the corners. You get a lot of these guys that it's too small a sample size to truly feel as though you can draw any incredible conclusions one way or another. I'm always super leery this time of season because Tate Southesine struggled a ton this time last year. Dallas Macias was something like 1 for 33, and then he lit up the Carolina League in the first half of this season. Like it's always tough to draw, but you're seeing these guys swing with confidence, and you're seeing these guys have foundations that no matter what comes in the future, you feel like they're putting good stuff at the base level right now.
Yeah, and it's been really fun to watch. I know a lot of folks, and I have been guilty of it at times, have kind of put Augusta on the back burner just a little bit, but there's still a very exciting team down in Augusta, and they put a good game on good players on the field day in, day out. And no matter how much the Imp steal and steal from you guys, or Columbus steals from you guys, y'all always have a good player waiting in the wings to take the place of somebody like a Luis Guanipa or Connor Essenberg. It's really awesome. And that is a testament to guys like Ronit Shaw and the Braves organization who go out and draft these guys and get them into the Braves system so they can work with the coaches that you guys have. It has just been fun to watch all year. Let's move on. We got Luis Guanipa. He went 1 for 5 with a double, but he had 3 RBIs and a walk on Thursday. Cody Miller went 2 for 4, I think, with a double and a walk, as well as Zach Royce going 6 innings with 9 hits, 2 runs, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. Zach Royce, correct me if I'm wrong, but he was in Augusta earlier this year as well, and he didn't have his best stuff. But Noah, what do you know about Zach Royce?
Another kid that just going out there and attacks. He's definitely learning how to adapt to pro ball. He was kind of a guy that popped up a little bit with how well he threw in his last campaign at UTSA. Had a little bit of a home run streak when he was in college with the Roadrunners, but I think he did a really good job of controlling that here. He's a kid that can flash brilliance. He's the only guy that's gone 8 innings yet for Green Jackets this year. Did so on like 90 pitches back in May before he was even fully stretched out. If nothing else, it's another arm that is going to be interesting to keep an eye on because he's shown some quality things in his first year.
Ryan, you have anything on Zach Royce?
He likes to pound the zone. He makes players put the ball in play. And so it lets the defense, which Rome has a really good defense, and they had one before everybody got promoted as well. And so if you're putting the ball in the zone, not giving up free runners on walks, usually it's going to play out pretty well for you. And his stuff is good enough that it's going to result in wins at the end of the day.
So moving on, John Heel, Eric Hartman, Jordan Groshans had 2 hits apiece for Columbus. Groshans went 2 for 4 with 2 runs scored, a 3-run bomb, his 21st of the year, and a walk. And then John Heel and Eric Hartman both had a stolen base apiece. On in Gwinnett, we had Patrick Cloesy, again showing up in the box score, went 3 for 5. Owen Murphy, he went 6 innings, 5 hits, 2 runs, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. Looked very good in his Gwinnett start. Moving on to Friday, Noah got a off day. It was postponed, so he had to work double time, I guess, on Saturday, but that's all right. In Rome, we had Alex Lodiz, who went 2 for 5 with a 2-run bomb and 3 RBIs. Connor Essenberg started a barrage of just taking pitches. He went 1 for 3 with a run. He walked twice. And then Garrett Ballman, who I incorrectly labeled on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, as a Maddox. But he had a complete game on 96 pitches. He had 7 hits, 2 runs, no walks, 8 Ks. I'm still calling him Maddox because it's impressive that he did all that work in under 100 pitches. But Ballman looked so impressive on Friday, and thank goodness, because he needed that bounce back outing. Ryan, what do you got on Garrett Ballman for this week?
He's finding the confidence that he seemed to have lost a little bit in Gwinnett because he was getting pounded around by former major leaguers. And so he's come back down to Columbus and is feeling himself. He's splitter is playing really well off of his fastball, and he's not giving up free runners. He had a lot of walk issues in Gwinnett, and that seems to not be the issue in Columbus. As you can see with 0 walks, I think he only had 1 in his last outing, with a lot of strikeouts, a lot of whiff. So to me, it just goes back to confidence. He's believing in himself and throwing the ball.
Yeah, he looked really good. Noah, do you have anything on Garrett?
Just that for as up and down as the Gwinnett tenure was for him, I think a couple nights ago was a lot more indicative of who he is. And I also think that, one of these things that is tough to contextualize in the moment is he was a high school pick in the 4th or 5th round. He was not necessarily a guy that was expected to move incredibly quickly. So if he would have gone to UCF where he was committed, he would have just been draft eligible a month ago. And for him to have been at the same time that all his peers were getting selected and starting their pro careers, have been in Gwinnett, he was treading water a little bit, but he wasn't exactly run off the road every single time he was out there. Maybe he needed a little bit more seasoning in Columbus, but he's at a good spot in his career. And I think that no matter how he finishes his last few weeks of the season, he'll be right back in Gwinnett to start off 2027. He will have a whole lot to prove. And I think that that second tenure is going to be a whole lot better when he gets an extended lookup.
Absolutely. I agree 100% with that. Moving on, Jordan Groshans again showing up in the box score, went 3 for 4 with his 22nd homer of the year, a 2-run shot. We have Owen Carey, who went 1 for 5, but he had a triple, an RBI, and a run scored. J.R. Ritchie went 5 innings for Gwinnett, had 3 hits, 2 runs, 4 walks, 3 Ks. JR's got to get those walks under control, but other than that, it was a pretty solid outing. Then we had Tyler Uberstein, who showed up again, went 2 innings, 1 hit, no walks, no runs, 2 strikeouts. Moving on to Saturday, Augusta had a doubleheader. In game 1, Carter Beck went 2 for 3 with his first extra base hit in pro ball. It was a double. It was an opposite field double, if I'm not mistaken, off the wall. It was a hard hit ball right there. I don't know, Noah, do you have any exit velocity numbers or anything on that? Because he hit it hard.
Not off the top of the head, only that it was above the zone. And that's something that he's done a lot of in these first couple of weeks is he's not afraid to expand at the letters because he knows that's where he likes the ball. And that could give some folks pause, but he continues to hit the high pitch well. So it's hard to tell him not to swing at it.
Yeah, he also had a run scored with his 5th stolen base already. Cooper McMurray went 1 for 3 with 2 RBIs, and then Caleb Klein went 1 for 2, and he had a sacrifice fly for his lone RBI of the day. Then in game 2, Caden Merritt went yard for his second homer in Augusta this year. Aris Tigueta went 6 innings, 5 hits, no runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts.
Luis Arestigueta is a guy that I would love to see succeed like he did a lot more. He's a great clubhouse presence. He's just a super sweet, super happy guy. There are some things there that could be able to be built upon. He's still only 20. It's been a tough year for him. His velo is kicked up and the movement on the fastball has increased, and harnessing that has been a little bit tough because he went from a flat 91 to a sinking 94, and now all the pitches that were able to start on the inside corner and stay there are now starting on the inside corner and running, hitting right-handers. But he wasn't pounding the zone ahead on every single batter on Saturday, but he was able to use his slider to both sides of the plate. And because of how long-limbed he is, it looks like a spider's coming after you. He's got 8 legs, it feels like, with all the limbs that are flying. It's a ridiculous wingspan. And the breaking ball plays really well. He had 3 straight backwards Ks to start the ball game, or at least his first 3 strikeouts were all backwards Ks to lefties, just perfectly backdooring that slider. He's one that could potentially be something interesting, but to see him have that start and have success was really awesome to see.
Absolutely. We're moving up to Rome on Saturday. In Rome on Saturday, Luis Guanipa, 3 for 7, a double, a run, 3 RBIs. Connor Essenberg, 2 for 3 with 4 walks, 5 runs scored. Alex Lodies, 4 for 6 with 2 doubles, 5 runs, 2 RBIs. Dixon Williams had a better game than I've ever had with a created player on MLB The Show. All right. He went 4 for 5, hit 2 bombs, his 15th and 16th of the year with 10 RBIs and 3 runs scored. Ryan, I know me and you have talked about Dixon Williams so much, especially earlier in the season. What can you tell me about Dixon in this game?
Dixon puts up incredible bat speed, and when he hits the ball, it flies off his bat. He had an injury to start the year early on, and then he just came out on this wicked heater, hitting 330 with the same home run rate as Eric. And then he cooled off a lot. I think it was June that he hit under 200 for a while, but he's finally more consistently putting the ball in play, cutting down again on his strikeout rate, and you're seeing just a lot of hard hit balls. And even when he does, I think he's more also not full swinging every time. Same thing that Connor Essenberg was going through this year earlier, where if he just needs to put a ball in play, he does. And so you're seeing a lot of doubles down the line that's not his full swing, and it's letting him play off of that and find more power so he could have a weekend like this weekend where he's just seeing the ball so well. And I mean, a grand slam, a 3-run shot, and 10 RBIs, that'll typically play.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that would play. I'll take that, at least 6 days out of the week. Next, we got Mason Guerra, who went 3 for 4, double run, 3 RBIs, 2 walks, and then Ivan Cabral, who I know he's not going to be the big swing and miss guy, but I love the way Ivan Cabral comes out and attacks hitters. He went 6 innings, 5 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, 6 Ks. He's been impressive all year. He's had a hiccup of a start here and there, but Ivan has just been great all year. Moving up to Columbus, we got John Hill, who went 2 for 3. 2 runs, a walk, a stolen base. Eric Hartman went 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs. Then in Gwinnett, we had Patrick Cloesy, who went 2 for 5, a run, and his 17th stolen base with Gwinnett. Cal Conley went 2 for 4, a run, or RBI, stolen base, and he surprisingly put up an 808 OPS in Gwinnett. He's looked pretty solid. Blake Burkhalter as well. He went 2 1/3 with 1 hit, no runs, 1 walk, 1 strikeout for Gwinnett. He's been very, very impressive out of the bullpen in Gwinnett. And moving on to today, Sunday, we got Carter Beck, who went 4 for 5. And, he got his first extra base hit in pro ball yesterday. He decided to one-up himself and go hit a 3-run jack today with a run, 5 RBIs, and a stolen base. Juan Mateo went 2 for 4 with a home run and a double. And I know, Ryan, you like Juan Mateo's hit tool, especially. Noah, what can you tell us about Juan Mateo?
He started the year here at Single A at 18 and didn't look out of place. He's also switch hitting for the first time since he was 16 and just signing in the DR, because that was something that was scrapped a little bit early. And I think that at the staff's insistence, he brought it back and he's starting to look comfortable with it. But he's very young, very lanky. The hit tool is great. I think he's going to grow into some power. He's not built too dissimilarly compared to what John Heel looked like when Johnny came up here in 24 for a little cup of coffee. So they're about the same age. And then, Johnny came back a little stronger in 25 and absolutely hulking in 26. So I think that Mateo could undoubtedly put a little strength on. He's got such quick wrists. He gets such good power already for his size because of the way he's able to just flick that bat and create easy loft. It's a lot smoother from the left side than the right now, but he won't be 20 until the back half of May, I believe. And he's a guy that he'll play some solid infield wherever you put him. He's got power that he can grow into. And as he grows up, there's going to be less of some of the swing and miss below the zone that there is right now. That's already improved than it was in April. He will absolutely be a guy that's going to be fun to follow. I'm interested to see, after a year plus a month in 25 of being in Augusta, if he ends up being a 19-year-old infielder in high A and how that goes in Rome, especially because he's probably going to come back with more power. But that's also a place where it's tougher to hit the ball.
Yeah, it definitely is. We saw Eric Hartman went a while without hitting a home run in Rome earlier this year, and we know his numbers have just been incredible. Moving on, Caden Merritt hit his 3rd homer. He went 2 for 3 with an RBI and a walk. He, again, looked fantastic back-to-back days with homers. And then moving up to Rome, who, again, the offense was just incredible today. They ended up losing the game. The pitching kind of let them down there at the end of the game, but the offense was off the charts as well. Alex Lodiz, back-to-back 4 for 6 ball games. He had a 2-run homer today for his 4th in Rome with 2 RBIs and 4 runs scored. His numbers since joining Rome, and Ryan, you pointed these out to me, 343 batting average with Rome and a 1.005 OPS since moving up. Incredible. Dixon Williams, he went 4 for 6 today with 3 homers, his 17th, 18th, and 19th.
So what's quick note on Alex. In Augusta, he had a 26% strikeout rate. Through his first 80 at-bats in Rome, his strikeout rate's at 7%, while maintaining the exact same walk rate. He's just seeing the ball incredible. On his high batting average, it's not luck. Everything's a line drive. His home runs are line drives. His singles are line drives. His doubles are line drives. He's just so insanely locked in right now.
Yeah, he has looked amazing. Noah, what do you have on Lodiz?
There were just so many people that were ready to write him off after 6 weeks in Rome last year and then not immediately seeing him hit 800 in the month of April because he was back in single A. I understand that this is a reactionary business, and whether it's folks that are focused on the Braves or folks that are looking from the outside in that are trying to cover all 30 ball clubs, which is just a shockingly difficult task for these national writers. I can't stomach having to do that. It's hard enough to prep for one ball club coming in when you get to see these guys 6 days in a row on our side of the fence. But I understand that folks wanted to see him swing and miss less, and now he is. But I don't think that we should be, as an industry, so quick to discount 3 years of ridiculously strong success at the college rate over a small sample size as soon as they get to pro ball. Now, if it caters on for a couple years in a row and he's still toiling in Augusta, if he hadn't succeeded the way with the Green Jackets that he did, yeah, maybe at the end of the 26 season, you start raising the alarm bells a little bit. But he just, he matured in his approach, in the way he went about things, in his openness to changing things and improving month to month in the time he was here. And I think that the version he's showing of himself here is a lot more what you expected to get when you picked up a guy like him in the second round. I also think that it's a heater that he could continue to rise, and whether he finishes in Columbus or finishes in Augusta, or finishes in Rome rather, he could move very quickly in 2027. And there's a reason that despite every single person who put together a mock draft in July, including Alex Lodis, traded for somebody, they kept him in the organization for a reason. That is a legitimate big league shortstop if he continues to play the way he's playing.
Yeah, and Ryan knows I'm going to out myself here because I was one of those that wanted Alex Lodis traded, or I was kind of writing him off a little bit. I was very worried about the hit tool, as seeing what he has done over the past month and a half has really put my faith back into him as a player. I don't think he's going to keep up the same level of production that he's currently going at. Going 8 for 12, in a 2 game span is just unrealistic expectations to have. But I think as a whole, if he's going to be, a 750 to 780 OPS guy at the major league level, I'll take that every day of the week, especially from a guy who was a second round pick. I know he went to FSU and played in the ACC, which is a big conference in college baseball. But like I said, I was very worried about it at the beginning. But like you said, Noah, we can't write these guys off as quickly as we do. And sometimes I'm just as bad the opposite way too. I'll pick up a guy, and think he's the greatest thing since sliced bread after a 2 week stretch. But regardless, Lodi's has just very much turned the corner on his 2026 season, and it's been wonderful to see.
So I don't know how hard you guys know this is for me, but I'm a Florida Gator fan. I don't do FSU. I hate FSU. But I've seen things in Alex that I watch day in and day out, and I've had many a talk with Noah, especially when I was down there, that you could tell he was working on things, working on mechanics to start the year. And so you could see the flashes, you could see little bits. He would give a sample of the way he could just drive balls, the exit velos he could put up. And so statistically it matches. Even he would stay along the same walk rate, but his strikeout rate has increased or decreased month by month by month. And something 3 months ago clicked, and his slug has gone up consistently 200 points. Before the April and May, he was rolling around a 400 slug. It's been consistently 600 for 60% of the year now. And that's why on the Twitterverse, every time I saw somebody posting a trade that had Alex, don't do it. He has a talent that is hard to find.
Yeah, you should see some of the text messages that me and Ryan have. They're definitely not show friendly, all right? And it's mainly just him using terrible, terrible language to cuss me out for everything I'm worth, because I was saying, I don't know about him. He should be traded, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, you dummy, and, some non-family friendly words. But it's I'm glad to see his success and how he's been coming along because it's just been wonderful to watch. So back to Dixon Williams again, went 4 for 6 with 3 homers today. After having 2 homers and 10 ribbies yesterday, he decided, you know what, I want to hit one more. So he went 4 for 6, 3 homers, 6 RBIs just this week alone. And keep in mind, this is the middle of August. All right, we're not talking about first week of May. We're not talking about middle of April. We're talking about towards the end of the season. These guys have 400 plus plate appearances. His OPS jumped 73 points this week alone, and that is incredible. He went from 730 OPS to an 803 OPS during this week alone. He had 5 home runs and 16 RBIs in 2 days. That is unheard of. In 24 hours, this man had 5 homers and 16 RBIs. Just unheralded numbers. Next, Dallas Macias. He went 2 for 6 with a 3-run bomb, his 4th of the year. He had 3 ribbies on the day. Connor Essenberg went 1 for 2 in a game where Rome scored 14 runs. Ryan, do you know why he only had 2 at-bats in a game where they scored 14 runs?
Because he may have the best eye in our organization. Noah got to watch it for months. Mm-hmm. It's hard to get him to expand the zone. I have many a clip of him not swinging at a ball an inch off the plate. He walked 13 times this week. Here he's hitting 238 since his promotion, but he has his highest on base of any month because he's not seeing pitch, so he's not swinging at him. He's at a 458 on base since his promotion. That's insane number.
Noah, seeing Tate Southacene and Connor Essenberg up close this year, do you still agree with Ryan's take that Essenberg has the best eye in the system? Because I think Tate definitely puts a run for his money.
I think it's really, really close. We definitely got a more extended look at S, and especially, recency bias tends to be a thing. I think the thing is, there are times where Southacene leans on the patience because he knows that all he has to do is get to first and he can let the speed work. I think what impresses me with Essenberg and why it's easier to give him the slight nod in that category is just because it's a 19-year-old that can send the ball to the moon. And the first couple weeks he was with us before he tweaked the oblique and missed 6 weeks, just about any hitter's count, that's all he was trying to do. It didn't matter where the pitch was. So for him to have improved and matured this much, this quickly, and to do so, especially this week, they were in Asheville. Part of the reason that you saw football scores every week is because Asheville is a bandbox, and despite the high fences, you sneeze on the baseball and it goes out. That's for a young hitter who's trying to prove himself at a new level. It would have been very easy for S to sell out on the power, put up 1 or 2 home runs, but also strike out half a dozen more times than he did. But instead, he takes what he's given, and he's very unafraid to walk. He always looks upset when he walks. He looks very offended, but he's not unafraid to walk. And so if he's going to take the base and he's doing that already, that's a very, very good sign.
He might look offended, but does he look Matt Olson after he hits a no-doubter offended? Because that man right there, he looks disgusted. Connor Essenberg, he's only hitting 238 in Rome right now, but he has a 458 on-base percentage, and that is incredible. That just goes to show you the kind of eye that Connor Essenberg has at the plate. And also, I know we noted it last week, but this is still Connor Essenberg's first year focusing solely on hitting. So up until this point, he's always been, a guy who's had to worry about what he's doing on the mound as well. And he's taken full advantage of being able to focus on just hitting this year. Next, we have John Heel, who hit his first homer in Columbus and his 13th overall. He had 2 RBIs and a walk today. Jordan Groshans hit his 3rd homer in 4 days. Isaac Gallegos, number 30 in the Braves blueprint, top 30, went 2 innings, no hits, no walks, and 1 strikeout, and he has been really good for this year. Patrick Cloesy showing up one more time with a 2 for 5 performance with 2 runs, 2 RBIs, And then last but not least on my notes, we have Roldy Munoz, who went 2 innings, 1 hit, no runs, no walks, and 4 strikeouts. Ryan, what other notes do you have for this week?
So to go with Cloesy, since promotion, which is coming up on a month now, he's hitting 396 with a 1.033. That over a week, those are incredible numbers. He's sitting at a month. The kid's just a true ball player. Another note that I had 2 more notes on the week. One, Carter Beck, incredible ball player. A 409 batting average to start out is insane. I think he's only had one game where he hasn't reached base, and 7 of his 11 games are multi-hit. So he knows how to put the ball in play, but not to be outdone. Our 15th round pick, Caleb Klein's only hitting 400. So Noah in Augusta lost Connor, he lost Luis, and gained Carter Beck and Caleb Klein and Parker Brocious, who's no slouch himself. Augusta still has a lot to look forward to in the 4 weeks coming. Also, my last note, Eric Hartman, he's finally starting to find himself. He's finally starting to hit the ball better, put up higher exit velocities in Columbus. But even though he's only hitting 244, he still has a 404 on base.
Yeah, that is awesome to hear. I know I was worried about Hartman kind of not being overmatched per se, but just kind of initially struggling a little bit whenever he went up to Columbus. And I know moving up, especially somebody who's that young, he just turned 20. So being in Double A is kind of a huge step for somebody that young. Even with John Heel. John Heel's been hitting, lights out, 311 with a 407 on base since his promotion as well. But, Hartman, I think he'll come around. That average should be up if it wasn't for literally one of the greatest catches I've ever seen in my life, getting robbed on that home run. But other than that, we'll wrap it up. Noah, do you have anything else?
I don't think so. I mean, I think we touched on just about anybody that could have made an impact. There's a lot of fun going on in this organization right now. So 3 of us could sit here and talk about any of the 4 rosters south of Atlanta and just key in on one group of guys and kill another hour or 2. But
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how it wraps up. I think that there should be very few concerns about Johnny or Hartman. I think the jump from high to Double A is arguably the hardest outside of going from Triple A to the majors. I think it is such a difficult move. There is nobody that's in Double A by accident. I think you see guys that have struggled but are still in Low A, or have struggled but because of who they are or what their promotion status was, they find their way to Rome or find their way to High A rather. Double A is such a big jump, and especially for these guys that are 19, 20. I think that we give them time to get their feet set, and you don't forget who they are just because the numbers aren't quite as sky high as they were at the level previously.
Yeah. Well, Noah, it was a pleasure having you on, man. We really appreciate everything. You do a phenomenal job with the Green Jackets, and we really do appreciate all your hard work. And do you want to tell people where to find you on social media so they can find you on there?
Sure. That's got to do the social media plug, right? So I'm on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. That's where we're doing a lot of the prospect talking. N_Adcock_Howarth, and always arguing over why these guys should stay in Augusta and not Rome. But we're lucky enough to travel, so we're always Green Jackets Baseball. We've got greenjacketsbaseball.com. We've got the radio broadcast going for all 132 games, which is awesome. And then it's Valley Sports Live. The app is free, and MLB TV. If you already have the Braves on there, anytime you go in to watch, you can scroll down, and on the minor league side, you can pick out the Green Jackets game. And our camera crew and all those production folks have done a whole lot of good work this year. So we got one more homestand, which means one more slate of games on the TV side, but we got a couple weeks on the radio as well. And hopefully we can end the year on a high note.
There you go. Ryan, we all know where to find you at, but go ahead and say it anyway.
Lethal Platypus on Twitter, Insta, and TikTok.
And as always, I'm Weaver_cards on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, whatever you want to find me on. Thank y'all for listening once again to another episode of Braves Blueprint, and we will be back next week with another great episode. Thank y'all for listening, and we'll see y'all in the next one.